While we're waiting, Todd, I sent you an email. Did you get that?
Yes, I did, Rich. I just responded there. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Appreciate that.
While we're waiting, Todd, I sent you an email. Did you get that?
Yes, I did, Rich. I just responded there. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Appreciate that.
Okay, I think we're all set and ready to go.
Okay. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Tompkins County Industrial Development Agency for February 10th, 2021. Welcome, everybody. And our first item of business is privilege of the floor. Ina or Heather, have we received any public comment?
We did not.
I haven't received any.
Okay. Any additions to the agenda? No? Seeing none? Okay. First item of business is welcoming our latest incoming director, Todd Brewer. Welcome. And I don't know if there's something you'd like to say at the outset here to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Rich. And thanks, everybody. I look forward to working with everybody in this committee. I know you guys do a lot of good work here and love to be involved. But
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. And this is an exciting moment. We're fully constituted for 2021. So we're now fully up and running. And I believe our first item of business is the City Center Associates pilot transfer request. Heather, would you like to introduce that?
Sure. So you do have a letter request in your agenda packet from Mark Newman at City Center Associates, as well as his team that's planning to purchase ownership interest in the project. They are just requesting that the pilot be transferred to the new ownership. This is something that generally the IDA has done for many projects in the past, as long as the project is still being used for the same purpose in which it was it received incentives. The IDA has readily approved that kind of a transfer in the past. We did that last year for the Hilton Garden Inn when there was a new ownership group that came in. We just transferred the existing pilot over there. So with that, I'm going to introduce Mark Newman from Newman Development, who is the brains behind City Center.
Welcome, Mark. You're on mute.
There we go. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Or should I, can you hear me now, right? Well, thank you very much, Heather. I appreciate it. And I also wanted to start out by saying that I appreciate very much the working relationship and the considerations and your guidance and help, your board and Heather, of course, throughout this process. And I think City Center is a project that we're all proud of. It was a team effort, and everyone in the community with Heather and the city and so on, there was great vision, great planning, and that's going to continue. There is not going to be any change. The project is something that we're extremely proud of. We're extremely proud of Ithaca. Many of our partners, colleagues, family members went to Cornell, Ithaca College as well, and we have a new partnership now, and we're excited about the future. City Center is doing very, very well, and we're excited for it to continue to do well. We're getting ready in the next 3 weeks to launch the Ale House project, which will finally get underway, and we're committed to that as well. So the group and the partners that we brought on, I think, are fine, excellent people. Besides having tremendous experience and knowledge in the business, they happen to be really good guys. And Adam and Jonas are here today. I asked them to come on just to say hello and if you had any questions. But that is the request, and we'd like to seek the transfer and the approval today, if at all possible, so we can continue on and try to finish this up. So I don't know, Heather, if there's anything else you'd like me to touch on. There's a letter enclosed from myself and also from Adam Ross with the group that's on the phone today, on a Zoom.
Yeah, certainly if Adam or Jonas, you'd like to say anything, happy to have you talk to the IDA. You're on mute.
I think you're on mute, Adam. There you go.
Oh, can't hear you. Yeah.
Still got you on silent, Adam.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess my headphones weren't working either. I said that must have been a real estate professional's mistake, staying on mute. I apologize for that, but thank you very much for the opportunity to introduce ourselves and to say hello. We're very excited to have that opportunity. As Mark mentioned, we have been pursuing a partnership with Mark in City Center for a little bit of time now, and we're very excited about the prospect of that partnership. Jonas and I both live in South Florida. We have been up to Ithaca now to visit the property and has spent some time there, and we're excited about Mark continuing on as our partner in ownership and management, to have a local presence and continue the relationship that he has with all of you and the community. Just a little bit about our firm. We are a multifamily real estate group. We seek out opportunities in the multifamily space nationally. We have a tremendous amount of experience, and we're very proud of our current portfolio of assets. One of the things that we take great pride in is our approach and our relationships in those respective markets. We really try very hard to be a great corporate citizen, and we'll do that, the same thing here in Ithaca. The property itself is beautiful. I'm sure many of you have seen it. Mark and his group did an amazing job developing it. And as he, I think, mentioned, it seemed to be a collaborative team effort. We intend to keep it exactly as it is, operate it exactly as it is, with the exact same people in place on site, the same management company, the same structure, and market the property to the exact same demographic. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Jonas is here as well, and would be happy to answer any questions that any of you may have for us. But thank you again for the opportunity to be here.
Okay. Any questions for any of our guests? Yeah, Martha, go ahead.
Thank you, Rich, and it's good to meet you. And hi, Mark. Glad you're going to be involved. My question is about something that has been worrying us, but I don't think it's part of any formal agreement. We're worried that a building like this might become a short-term rental site that people on their own, and I know you don't have. You can't tell. I mean, I don't know what you can tell your tenants, but we're really not interested in supporting Airbnb through our IDA programs. So I don't know how, what your feeling is on that. And Mark, what's your experience been? And, if this is just sort of an informal request, and that may be all we can do, but I wanted to raise the issue.
Well, I can tell you this, and Adam and Jonas chime in if you'd like, or to comment, but I can tell you where we've been in this whole process from the beginning, Martha. It did come up early on before City Center was built. The question was raised, is that something we wanted to do? We all concluded it was not something we want to do. The leases that we have are not designed or in that way, and that is not going to change. We are We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on security systems in this building, and we really don't want access to people that we don't know. And what I mean by that is we get to know our residents and they get to know us. We have a concierge service that's there. And we do not want it turning into a hotel. And so I don't know, Adam or Jonas, if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I'll speak to it as well. There has never been the thought, never mind the intention, of leasing any of these apartments on any kind of short-term basis. We have never done that at any of our properties nationally, and certainly are not going to do it here. For one thing, it would turn off the committed population, the tenants that lease for 12 months, 18 months, have been at the property since it opened. Those people certainly don't want to live in an apartment next door to one that is turning over every few days. It's certainly a valid concern, Martha, but that's not part of our business and never has been. And quite frankly, I don't believe it ever will be. We intend to lease on an annual basis like every other multifamily property around the country.
And on top of that, hello, everybody. Thanks for having us. I'm Jonas, Adam's partner. The financing and loan docs behind financing of the building prohibit short-term leases. It's multifamily financing that prohibit that. And so it's, not only is it not in our, business plan to do so, but also we're prohibited from doing so under contractual restrictions anyway, so.
Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. John? You seem to be frozen on the screen.
Thanks. I'm interested. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm interested in understanding, you referenced several times in impressively vague language, the relationship you will retain with Mark. I think one of the things that is this project is the fact that Mark is a very strong local connection. I mean, he almost lives here. I'm curious if you could just speak a little bit more to what that looks like and how Mark remains, quote unquote, involved, as it were.
Yeah, sure. So Mark and his brother David and Jonas and I have formed a great relationship in the time that we have been talking about this. One of the things that was absolutely critical to Jonas and I in pursuing this opportunity was that Mark stay in place, that he continues to be the driving force behind operations, a contributing member of the new ownership structure. That without him, it's a deal breaker. Jonas and I would not be on this call. Like any real estate asset, it has nuances that are unique to itself. This certainly has those. Mark and his team know those nuances better than anyone. It would behoove us tremendously that to have him stay on. And so, John, I want to make sure I answer your question appropriately, but Mark is going to remain part of the day-to-day management. He will work with Jonas and I and our team to continue, to make sure that the property continues to operate at the very high level that it is, and will continue to consult us, who again live in Florida, on anything going on, locally that we need to be aware of.
Okay. Does that answer your question, John?
It's still a little fuzzy, but it's close.
A little fuzzy. Okay, Mike.
Hey, so my question is not actually for the developers. It's actually more for the IDA as a body. So I'm going to vote for this because this is the way we've always done this, and that's fine. That's the expectation of the developer, so I don't change, course. But going forward, I don't know if I'm actually good with with transferring this on other projects in the future. It just seems like it then becomes like an asset. And I don't know if we can actually make taxpayer money, which is what this is. It's a foregoance of taxpayer income. I don't know if we can actually do that as an asset for anybody, even for a private company. I mean, it's one thing to do it to get the business up and running, and that's what you needed to kind of to break ground. But once you're selling it, well, then, I mean, I don't think you're selling it at a loss, you know, if you're a developer. Maybe you are, and if you are, then maybe the situation changes. But it seems like that asset is being bundled into part of the sale, which it obviously is. And I don't know if in the future we should do that. So just something I think maybe if the IDA disagrees with me and says I'm full of it, then that's fine. But just going forward in the future, maybe I can write something up and send it to you guys, and you can tell me what you think then. So thanks.
Okay. Well, maybe we should put that as an agenda topic for discussion. John.
Yeah, I'm going to vote for this too. But I think that there's something for us to dig into there, which is ultimately, right, any substantial real estate transaction is just a math problem based on, you know, what the income potential is and what your target return on investment, et cetera, right? So anything that changes the operating pro forma of the property going to impact the price to the values of both buildings and parcels of land. And I think that is something that we do want to take a look at, you know, in the long term, and just to do.
John, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Understand it as a group, but I just finished off saying I don't think that should impact this transaction at all, because I think that there's a clear, long-standing practice that we do this. So we should continue with that for now. But I do think that that's a discussion.
Yeah, I think I'm going to jump in with my comment, which I think it's fine that we have a conversation about it, and we should make sure we're all comfortable with it. But maintaining the certainty of the deal, and as you said, maintaining the math structure makes sense to me, regardless of the ownership, that the community deal with the developer should not change. I don't believe. So anyway, we can have further discussion on that, and maybe you convince me otherwise. Any other questions? Are we ready to vote? Okay, can I get a motion?
I'll move it.
Laura moves, Martha seconds. Thank you. Okay, and I'll
So moved.
all right, call the roll. John,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Laura. We lost Laura. Well, in the meantime, Martha.
Yes.
There you are, Laura.
Sorry, I lost my connection for a minute. That's a yes.
Okay, and the chair votes yes. So that passes.
Thank you all for your time today.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for joining us.
Welcome to Ithaca.
Thank you. We look forward to working with you guys. Thank you very much.
Try to stay warm in the meantime.
And I just want to say again, thank you all for your time and consideration, your continued support, your past support. And we do look forward to working together in the future. Thank you very, very much. And stay well, everyone.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Good.
Yeah, Mark, bring us some more great projects.
Absolutely.
We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Okay, next item of business is Salt Point Brewery. And Heather, would you like to introduce this one?
Sure. I have Sarah Hess, one of the 3 co-owners of Salt Point Brewery. She was with us here today.
There she is.
There
Well,
she
Chris,
is. I'm looking for Sarah. This project will be the first under the Lansing Town Center Incentive Zone, which was a joint project between the IDA and the town of Lansing. I want to say going back 5 or 6 years ago now. This will be the first. And really the purpose of that program was to incentivize development in what the town of Lansing wanted to really create as a town center area. It was based on roughly the downtown density policy at the time, a little bit less incentive provided, with the recognition that there probably would be small commercial retail, more neighborhood kinds of restaurants and facilities in that town center that they wanted to promote. We are requesting today a standard 7-year incentive, which is what the Lansing Town Center Incentive Zone provides. It's the same incentive package that a manufacturer or industrial facility in the entire county would get, starting at a 90% abatement on that new value and declining over in equal increments over that 7-year period, as well as the sales tax exemption, both state and local sales tax. The applicant is not requesting a mortgage recording tax exemption. The projected incentive amount is under $100,000, so there is no legal requirement to hold a public hearing on this project. So we would be asking for consideration that you approve the application and approve the incentive via resolution in your packet today. The project is under $1 million. It's an incredibly small project for the IDA. And so I'm requesting waiving the application fee of $1,000 and reducing the IDA fee to $5,000. There was a time in the past that the IDA did have a policy, a written policy for small projects under $5 million, recognizing that the incentive amount was generally much smaller, that they would reimburse the applicant for application fees and IDA fees through a credit on their pilot over the first 2, 3, sometimes 4 years. It was an administrative nightmare. And I think it's the only place I've ever seen with IDA pilot billing that pilots were billed incorrectly because of that. It was just very confusing. So we did at one time clean up the IDA policies, and we took out that pilot credit. But I think there's still a recognition that for smaller projects, the amount of incentive, because it's based on a new value, the new value in a small building is not all that large, that we have some reduction in fee in order to make the incentive really more valuable to these small companies. Sorry about being long-winded there, but we've done this with Emmy's Organics recently. We've done this for a couple of others. I think that sort of overviews from my end the incentive proposal and what we're asking for today, but I'd like to turn it over to Sarah so that she can just give a little overview of this really exciting project in the Lansing Town Center.
Okay, Sarah?
Thank you, Heather, and thanks for the opportunity to speak with all of you today. I'm one of 3 owners of Salt Point Brewing Company here in Lansing. We, just a little background on our company for those of you who aren't familiar, we founded in 2017. Our business model was really based on being a part of the Lansing community. We all 4 of us at the time owners, and now 3 of us owners all live in Lansing. We feel committed to the community and wanting to be a part of the community right here in Lansing. So we founded Salt Point Brewing Company and quickly rented the little building next to the Rogues Harbor Inn on East Shore Drive that we outfitted and opened as a very small tap room and microbrew system. We've been operating there since 2018 and just finally closed our doors after Christmas to get ready to make our move, we very quickly became aware that the building that we had rented was not going to be big enough for us to grow, and that the community wanted us to grow. We had the business to support it. We had the community support to support it, and we really quickly started looking for another property or location. And our criteria were that we wanted to be in the downtown Lansing area. So we had a couple different properties that we looked at. Commercial space is not numerous in Lansing, and so we kind of went around with a couple different people about that, and eventually came back to the town, and we're able to come to a deal with the town of Lansing on 5.5 acres of property in their downtown development area, which is where we're building now. We secured a loan from Tompkins Trust. We were just getting ready to break ground on our building when COVID hit last spring, which threw a big loop in our development, our construction plans, and our financial plans. So what we were able to do in our old location was, obviously we shut down along with every other restaurant, and we pivoted to takeout food. We hired a talented young chef, and we completely turned our business model upside down in order to continue to serve our community. And we were amazed at the outpouring of support that we've received from the community. And we were able to not only keep all our employees on our payroll and paid, but we actually were able to beat last year's numbers, even despite the COVID restrictions and the shutdowns and all the canceled events and everything we missed out on this last summer. But it did leave us significantly financially short of our savings goals that were going to help us make this transition into the new building, upgrade our brew system, outfit the building, and really get set up and settled there. So I'm coming in front of you today to ask for the tax incentives to help us get off to a good start in our new building, and to help us kind of give a little break to Salt Point Brewing Company as we start to scale up into the new building, recover from the COVID, hopefully what's going to be a more limited shutdown this spring and summer, and really set roots down here in Lansing where we want to be for a long time. So I think I've mostly covered the background of the company. Just about us, just a couple more things. We are a farm brewery, so we're committed to using New York State hops and grains in our beer. We also commit to that with our food that we've been offering and will continue to offer in the new location. So we're really committed to the community. We want to support the community. We want to support the local agriculture here in New York, and we've had a great relationships with lots of local farms already, and we look forward to doing a lot more of that as we grow and expand our brewing system and our capacity to host events, et cetera, on our new property. So I think if there's not anything else, Heather, that you want me to touch on, that's a basic background.
Okay. No, that's great. We have some questions here for you. John.
Yeah, thank you, Rich. And thank you, Sarah, for, actually for everything you've done. I think I do want to say that, like, I feel like this project is exactly the kind of project that I'm excited for us to have the opportunity to support. It's an entirely local development effort. The contractors are local. I mean, I assume your labor is basically 100% local. They probably all live in Lansing.
It is. Yeah. Right? Yeah, most of them. Yeah,
we've got local banking. We've got, this is like, it's really pretty perfect. And so I would like to enthusiastically move that we accept or approve this application.
All right, well, let's get it on the floor. Do I have a second? Jeff seconds? Okay.
And then in addition, before we move on to that, I do want to talk a little bit about this small project fees thing. It seems to me like we just had a little bit of an issue with a question about the relationship between our policy and our practice. And it seems to me like we should actually just put together a policy around this. I think that what you've suggested we should do here totally makes sense. I'm curious about the financial dynamics of it. Like, I want to know that, like, are we getting our costs covered at least? In terms of the attorney's fees, I think we are, right? The attorney's fees are being passed along. It's only our fee that we're.
The attorney's fees, the council negotiates with the applicant as well. So those are in addition to these fees.
Okay, so it's really, this is just fees that we would see as income that we're, forgiving here. And so, I mean, I think that what you've done here totally makes sense. We've got this on a couple of projects today. We clearly have a practice of doing it. I really think that we should just sort of you should write this up into a policy, that this is our policy, and we should vote on it at a future meeting. But I think that from a sort of parliamentary perspective, we probably should make sure the minutes reflect that we were informed that this was a policy variation and that we sort of as a board considered that and accepted it, so that we are clean on audit in the future, right? So
Yeah,
sure that
I've been trying to be really clear in my benefit memo in that first project description at the end, to anything that deviates, anything that's different, sort of lay that out.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I think the reason we do it makes sense, and we should probably just have it be a thing in general that we have a clear policy on. So if we could maybe get something that just outlines what we do in front of us in a future meeting, that'd be great.
Okay. All right, Martha.
Well, to contradict what John said, my concern was about the fee waiver was actually for the next project. I think it's totally appropriate for this very young, small and growing business, which, as John said, hits all the right buttons. It's great. Sarah, love what you're doing. I do have a couple questions, but a suggestion, since my husband is gluten-free, could you have cider, maybe some local cider as an option?
Yes.
And make sure some of your snacks, some of your food is gluten-free too.
Yes. So we have since the beginning had South Hill cider on tap.
Right.
And we're going to keep doing that. We're actually brewing our own cider as well now. So you're going to have a couple choices. We'll have more tap options there. And we do have kombucha for non-alcoholic, or maybe if you're, somebody is driving and gluten-free. And food wise, it's a little tricky because we're going to be based on a sourdough wood-fired pizza, which obviously then flour is everywhere. Brewing for the brewing process also, grain dust is everywhere. So to say that we're actually gluten-free, we probably could never do, just because of the grain dust in the facility. But we do plan to also feature local salads and appetizers and things that, other things that we that will be gluten-free, and our barbecue menu that we've been doing through the summer, and our taco menu is always gluten-free. So we definitely have gluten-free options.
That sounds great. We'll be there. So that sounds great. Thank you. So a couple other things. On your wages, did you guys try for the Paycheck Protection Program?
We did. We did get the first round of PPP funding. Helped us out quite a bit. Let's see, we kind of got in a little late on that. This fall, it really helped us out to keep our employees' hours up and not have to drop them back as the kind of summer rush drops down. Unfortunately, like I said, fortunately and unfortunately, we don't qualify for the second round of PPP funding because our numbers were about 10% above what our previous year had been. Obviously, there's a lot more to that. Our cost of operations was significantly higher. The cost of goods for food is significantly higher. So our profit margins are not as robust as they were the year before. But total numbers wise, which is what the PPP looks at, we were up, so we don't qualify for that second round.
Okay. I'll take one other question and then let others go, and if I can come back. Heating and cooling, you talk about the highest energy performance, and I see that you worked with Tatum. How are you doing heating and cooling in the building?
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, we are on a natural gas moratorium here in Lansing. So that's not an option for us. Our plan is to put in air source heat pumps to do the heating and cooling. Actually, right now, what we're doing is heating the building with electric baseboards because the building is so energy efficient. Without having finally closed up the envelope, we're still missing a few doors and whatnot. But we're able to keep it pretty warm with just a couple electric baseboards. So we're going to do that until we can drum up the funds to do the air source heat pumps, which we hope will be later this spring. I really want to have those in place by the time we can have people, dining on site, and certainly by the time it gets hot for, summer cooling. So that's ultimately our plan. And we'd love to supplement with solar too down the road. It's not in our budget right now, but those are both things that we're actively thinking about and looking at for our future development.
That's great. And I'll come back later, but I just want to say that this kind of is really the definition of what we were hoping for with the Lansing in downtown incentive program. And
I'm like in a meeting.
sort of the beginning of
people. So
Can I be quiet?
maybe this will be the beginning of a number of other things that follow. So it's very,
We hope so too.
yeah, very exciting. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Todd?
Hi, Sarah. Yeah, I think this is great. You guys being able to do this addition, and looks fantastic. I want to applaud you for, I see that, like John mentioned, you're going to be using all local labor. Sounds like all people from Lansing. That's great. The one thing I was just going to ask you is I saw in the application, you checked no on the livable wage. Is that something you think you see yourself being able to do in the future? Or?
Yeah, so the livable wage in Tompkins County, correct me if I'm wrong, is $15 and something per hour. So my goal is to right off the bat pay my management at least that. We're also doing a tip sharing structure so that everybody that's on site working during a given shift is getting some percentage of the tips that come in. So if you look at the total that they're taking home, I can say, this spring and summer in our old location with the food operations being only takeout, we were adding about $10 to $15 an hour extra onto every employee's paycheck from tips. And so, while we're going to grow, and so that's going to get spread out a little bit, my hope is that the actual wage that each employee takes home is significantly higher than that base, or hourly wage that we'll be paying them. I'm looking at financial modeling a little around kind of a no tip policy. I'd really like to move to paying everybody better and not doing the tips the same way. But as a restaurant with the profit margins in food, it's a little tricky to kind of figure that out. So what I can say to you right now is that my management will definitely be making at least $15 an hour as we kind of renegotiate their salaries for the new building and new hours. And my goal is to be able to pay everybody that works in the brewery and the tasting room at least $15 an hour. I feel very strongly, having worked in restaurants, through college and even after college and graduate school, that restaurant workers work extremely hard. They deserve the pay, but the profit margin on food is tricky. And I just need to I need a little time to let the dust settle and be able to figure out how I can make that work. But I really am committed to living wage for every employee.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Okay, Jeff, why don't you jump in?
So Sarah, great project. I'm excited for it. Wish you guys well, especially the amount of equity that you guys are putting into it versus the debt that you've taken out. One quick comment there, although you may not be eligible for the second round of PPP, you should have your advisor look at the employee retention credit. Under the new legislation that they just passed in December, they really liberalized that. So you could actually technically go back into 2020 and potentially get it in between the periods of your PPP. And then you could be eligible in 2021 if you fit the criteria.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. I am looking at that. We actually, since we've been shut down since the end of December, one of my main priorities was keeping enough money in my savings, or our savings at Salt Point, to be able to keep all of our employees on payroll while we're shut down. I actually have my chef and front end manager building tables and tiling walls right now. And that's all in an effort to keep their hours, keep them paid, keep them being able to pay their bills, and hopefully be able to qualify for the payroll retention credits. Again, it seems to be also based on like total finance, so I have to kind of look at my monthly breakdowns once I get all my book work wrapped up for last year. But thank you for that suggestion, and we're definitely looking at that.
Yeah. Okay. Quick question for Heather. So Heather, just again, this is only my second meeting, so this is more of an education for me. So this program is coming on under the Lansing Town Center Incentive Program. If they didn't fit into that, would they be eligible for IDA incentives because they're competing with, say, other breweries or businesses within Tompkins County?
They would be because they are a manufacturer, so they would be eligible for our standard industrial incentive, which again is that 7-year incentive. Good point there, Jeff.
All right, Mike and then John.
Hi, I just wanted to say, since you are a mile from my house, how you doing? Say hi to your husband too.
I will.
I just wanted to thank you and your family and the people that work for you and your partner too. You guys have just invested so much in this. I know it's been a long haul for you, and still is. But it's nice to have a project going up in Lansing that I'm not getting calls of complaints about. So
that's good to hear.
As opposed to some of the other ones that are going in. So so thanks. I'm excited for you guys to finally open, and it'll be exciting. So thank you.
Thanks for your support.
Hey, John.
I just wanted to follow up on the heat pump question. I don't know if this project is large enough to look at the enhanced energy abatement, if that would make any kind of difference at all. It seems like maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, so we did do energy modeling with Tatum, with Evan Hollis. And I did circle back to him when I realized that was an option, and we did some kind of back of the envelope calculations. It looks like we did have to take, unfortunately, a couple of shortcuts that cut us down. We were about 40% above the baseline code based on his energy modeling. And so in order to qualify for those extra incentive, these enhanced incentives, we would have had to add probably both solar and EV charging stations would get us there. I really want to do both of those, and I went around and talked to a couple of our kind of local friends here who I know would be willing to front money for that kind of thing, and that is a possibility. But I'm very hesitant to take on any more debt at this point. Just wanting to be sure that we get off to a really firm footing and not kind of overextend ourselves financially. So I decided to leave that on the table at this point. And I may dig into that a little bit more once the dust settles here a little bit. I do ultimately want to have both solar and EV charging stations on site, and I'm trying to figure out, the best possible way to make that happen. But it just seemed like it was a little bit too much of a stretch for this particular meeting. Also, because we're already under construction, and the timing was kind of the essence here, I decided to leave that on the table at this point. But I may come back in front of you with that at some point. I'm not going to rule that out at this point, but that was kind of my thinking.
Okay.
Excellent. And one thing that you should just be aware of is that the county has a business energy advisors program, which can help you sort of navigate the okay, well, I want this thing. How do I pay for it?
Yeah. So we did, that was part of the energy modeling that we did. And I know that there's other funding sources available, but like I said, I'm a little hesitant to kind of overcommit financially until we're making a lot of changes. And while, my financial projections have been fairly good so far, I just don't, the last thing I want to do is put in too many bells and whistles and not be able to get off the ground running. So that's my main priority right now, is just get open, and then we're going to look at all of that.
Okay.
Great. Yeah. And one other note, just before we vote here is, you should check in with the Worker Center about the tipped employees version of living wage. You may actually already qualify.
Oh, interesting. I didn't realize there was a separate one.
Yeah, there's a different, basically you have to calculate the total wage that the person's earning, which can include recorded tips. So talk to the Worker Center, and I would encourage you to get that certification. It's pretty meaningful. I did it for my business.
Oh, very good. Thank you for that advice. I will look into that.
Hey, Martha.
Thank you, Sarah. John, it might be, the enhanced energy abatement, their abatement request is so low anyway that that enhancement wouldn't pay for it, I suppose.
No.
Yeah, we actually looked at it. We ran the numbers. It was about $31,000 over 7 years. It wasn't enough to make it financially feasible to do all those improvements today.
Okay.
So yeah, stay on the county's list, although we're in between staff people, but stay on the list for notices of, new grant opportunities. But I'm going to take us to the application, and I don't know if we need the screen share. I've got it open on my screen. On page 12 of the overall packet, we have a question. Is it likelihood that the project would not be undertaken but for the financial assistance provided by the agency? And you said no. Well, that seems a little of a problem because you're already doing the project. So that doesn't bother me if you say, if you said yes. Oh wait, so that's saying it's not, it's a double negative here.
Yeah.
I believe
Yeah, this is Russ.
I believe I
It's a
answered
very
that yes, this project would be undertaken without the financial assistance from this agency. I'm trying to find the exact wording here.
No, Martha, this is Russ. I'm a lawyer and I live and die by my words. And that sentence is a horribly drafted sentence. It's a double
It is,
negative.
and a lot of these questions come from, state best practices. We have changed our application quite significantly, but I know this came from.
Oh yeah,
someone else.
and Heather, and
Everyone's got it.
It comes verbatim from the ABO's directive. So I haven't focused on it until Martha raised it, but it's could use a little noodling for sure.
But in other words, what you just said, Sarah, is that it would be undertaken even if you don't get the aid.
That's correct, obviously, since we've already undertaken it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what that sentence actually says, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's look at that language, but let's wrap this up and push to a vote.
Yeah,
Is there anything else?
absolutely. Yes, John. Rich, just a second. And I just wondered also, I'm not sure there's not a mistake on a decimal point. No, actually it's about the wages. If we can go to the employment page, you've got packet page 17. You've got under manufacturing, high skilled and medium skilled, they're both listed as 0.5. So I assume that's like one half-time employee in each of those categories. And you say $40,000 for high skilled and $30,000 for medium skilled. Is that calculated at a full-time salary, or is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So it's not that they're getting getting 40 or 30 for a half-time.
That's correct. So right, the one full-time employee would receive 40,000 or 30,000. Right now we're employing a half of a full-time person.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And that doesn't include us working owners at this point. So that, obviously there's a little more work that's going into the manufacturing than is on that, because those are not employees at this point.
Okay. All right. Thank you so very much. And again, this is exciting. And, it looks like a true community project, and we're really happy to help.
I would, to wrap up, I just add that I worked as the Lansing town attorney for about a decade back in the 90s. And I can't tell you how many meetings I sat at where we talked about trying to make sure that we help develop a town center and have that space really become the focus for the town area. And the Lansing Market, came out of that discussion. There was a long project to build a golf course where you're sitting. That didn't happen, obviously, but it's really exciting to see it coming along now. It's a good thing. So at any rate, I think we're ready to vote. We moved and seconded, so I will call the roll. Let's see, give me 1 second. I'm going to call in order on the Martha Robertson.
Yes.
Jeff Gorski.
Yes.
Mike Sigler.
Yes.
Todd Brewer.
Yes.
John Guttridge.
Yes.
Laura Lewis.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So that passes. Congratulations. And thank you for coming and visiting with us. It's fun to hear about your business.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your consideration. And I look forward to pouring all of you a beer soon.
Okay.
Sounds good. Good luck.
Thank you. Thanks, Heather. Thanks for all your help.
Yeah, we're very thirsty. So, okay, next item of business in Kodama. And I know we have some guests, but I point to Heather first. You want to make the introduction?
I do believe we have a couple of conflicts of interest, so I'm going to let John Guttridge and then Jeff Gorski just let us know what those are.
Yeah, so I actually serve as the account manager for ICS, which is the IT company that supports Encodema, and they are my account, and I'm working with them on this project. So I will not have any direct financial benefit from this from the abatement, but I'm certainly involved in the project and should probably recuse myself from the conversation as such.
Okay. And Jeff?
Yeah, we have a client that has an ownership position in one of the holding companies that actually owns Encodema LLC. So I will recuse myself for this.
All right. Fortunately, we have quorum otherwise, so we can proceed. Go ahead, Heather.
Okay, so Russ
Yeah,
and
just Russ, yeah, I think if John and Jeff, if you're going to recuse, you can turn off the video and mute, and then, I don't know, Heather, maybe you can text them when to come back on.
yes, I can do that.
That works for everybody from the technological standpoint.
Okay, so
Thank you.
thank you. You have in your agenda packet a benefit memo, an application from Encodema, and also an authorizing resolution like the project that we just reviewed, a fairly small project for the IDA. Encodema would be the applicant. They will be the company that is locating into the building in the town of Dryden on Slaterville Road. They'll be the tenant, and then there is a separate local developer, Strategic Elements Development Company, which is a local developer, Lincoln Morse, that will purchase, provide the renovation for the building, and then pass some of the benefit on to the new tenant in the building. So the project is the purchase and renovation of a 27,000 square foot building, along with additional equipment purchases by the company. And I will note that Encodema turned 20 years old yesterday, an Ithaca grown company. So happy birthday. That's a big milestone in the life of a company. You will notice in the application packet and in my write-up that the proposed payment in lieu of tax agreement does deviate from the standard 7-year incentive. This is very similar to what the IDA did with Emmy's Organics. This development team and Encodema is purchasing a building that has been vacant for several years. The value will not go up appreciably to really abate any new property taxes. So the proposal is that we essentially freeze the taxes for 7 years and then slowly phase them in over the following 3 years. There's also a requested sales tax and mortgage recording tax along with this application. You will note that it was left out of part of the application, so I'm going to ask that we have the application modified. On page 1 of the application, you check the box that says mortgage recording tax. On page 7 of the application, which would be page 41 in your agenda packet, the mortgage amount would be $1,777,000, and the mortgage recording tax benefit would be $4,443. And then again, on the next page, page 42 of your application packet, the percentage of project costs from the public sector would increase to 3.89, or just under 4%. The mortgage recording tax amount was included in my benefit memo. It was also included in the last page of the application that shows all of the incentives being projected. So I think our bases are covered there as long as we update the application on that. This project, the tenant in Kodama will be relocating from the city of Ithaca to the town of Dryden. So we did need to make a determination and notify the mayor, Mayor Myrick, that that was happening. The reason for this is that they've outgrown their space, and really to preserve and grow jobs in the community and the county as a whole, they would be moving to another location. The same thing happened with Emmy's Organics. Both companies we were able to relocate into the town of Dryden. I think I already said there is no need for a public hearing because the incentive amount, again, is under $100,000. I'm also requesting that the fee be reduced to $5,000 because of the small size of this project. If you look at the incentive schedule over the period of 7 years, there would be significant upfront costs that would really make the incentive not really worth the upfront cost of procuring it. And I would like to note that in the resolution, there are 2 places where it says that the town of Dryden did the environmental review and that they determined this was a type 2 action. It was actually an unlisted action. Same result, the town of Dryden did the environmental review. They found a negative declaration of environmental significance, but I want to propose that we're going to change those 2 spaces where it says type 2 to unlisted. So those are the nuts and bolts on this proposal, but I would like to introduce Ela Burbank, who is from Encodema, and also Link Morris and his team at Stream Collaborative.
Good afternoon. Oh, I can't see links, so you can't tell who's talking. There we go. So thank you for having us and considering our project. As Heather mentioned, we had our 20th anniversary yesterday, so we had a nice celebration as much as you can in the COVID era. But we have been seeing some growth, and we're very pleased with the growth of Encodema. And we are landlocked, as you mentioned. We have a cliff on one side of the building and we have a cliff on the other side of the building. So even if we did want to expand, there's no space at this moment to expand anywhere else. So we started looking around for other facilities, trying to find a place where we could go to facilitate our growth. And as you all know, it's very difficult to find spaces in Tompkins County that have that could accommodate us. So, we want to stay in Tompkins County. We have a skilled workforce. We're very proud of the workers that we have and the skills that they bring to Encodema. It is a skilled manufacturing facility. So we do want to make sure that we retain the personnel that we have. And in fact, for part of our celebration, I did a little factoids and went through, and the average tenure of our personnel is 10.5 years, or the median is 10.5 years. And that takes into account that we've had some growth in the last couple of years. So we have a fair number of people who are 1 or 2 years, but we have a lot of people who have been here 16 to 20 years. So we are here for the long term of manufacturing. And when this opportunity came up of the old Crispell's building, we were really excited to go into a building that really, already set up for the manufacturing spaces, but also taking a building that's been vacant, and if you've driven by there, it's in a sad shape right now from the outside, and taking a building that we can reuse and make it something that we can all be proud of in this community. So it is a major undertaking, this move. If you were to walk through our facility, we have some really large pieces of equipment. So we're looking at hiring 2 sets of riggers that are going to play in the same sandbox, which is very kind of them. We're very pleased that they're willing to work together. It will be a significant move to get all of our equipment over to the other building. Very costly, but we need to undertake this in order to ensure our future growth.
Okay, and Link, do you have anything to add there?
No, we think this is a great project. It's a shoe in for these guys. The previous tenant had done a lot of improvements for this type of high-tech manufacturing. So it's great to be able to reuse some of these activities, and its proximity to Ithaca is great. And I think, Ela, aren't a lot of your employees, or some of their commute is actually shortened by this move, not all. But no, we're excited about the project, and Ela's given us a pretty tight deadline, so we're going to be busy for the next month and a half.
Okay. I did have a question, Heather. Have we heard anything from the town of Dryden? I assume they are positive on this.
I have not heard directly from the town of Dryden. Maybe Martha could speak to that.
Go ahead, Martha.
Happy to, as the legislators on this call know, that this is well known as the crown jewel of Tompkins County. So welcome to Dryden. Yeah, this building has been just, an eyesore, empty for so long. And it's really, it's a challenge. We understand, but we appreciate that you see the assets of it. I think it's a good location for a lot of things. And so I think the town, I haven't talked to the officials, but I'm sure they're overjoyed.
Okay. And Laura, did you have a question?
Yeah, thanks, Rich. And thanks, Ilya and Link, for meeting with us today. I'm really glad that you're remaining in Tompkins County. Very glad to see readaptive use of a building that's been vacant for so long and that will fit your needs. I do have a question about your employment plan. I noticed that the positions occupied by women and minorities percentages are quite low, and you're looking to retain 47 positions, which is wonderful, especially the longevity of some of your employees. I see that there is a plan for 8 new jobs created over the 3 years. And so I wondered if you could just speak about your goal to diversify your workforce more.
Absolutely. So as you probably can imagine, it is a little bit difficult to find females in the manufacturing industry. There's not a lot of candidates out there. We would, obviously, a female heading up a manufacturing facility myself. I understand that it is a difficult to recruit those people. We are actively at recruiting. I think actually I'm looking at this while we're talking, I'm looking at my application. That number has changed by the minorities, where we will be, we offered a position to a minority yesterday and they accepted. So we are up to 10% with this new applicant. So we are actively trying to diversify our workforce as much as possible.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Martha?
Yeah, I would, to follow on with that, since you mentioned that, so I'm going to flip back and look at that. The later in the application, you talk about these are the next page. Most of our manufacturing positions require only basic skills, and we provide on-the-job training, so we are appealing to a wide audience. I would think that there's, I mean, I really hope that there's a true outreach, and if you can talk to our workforce, the county's workforce development board about being proactive about it, that would be really important. Do you, the Encodema 3D is related to you? You're also you're in Freeville?
So Encodema 3D started actually in Encodema, but it spun off into its own business and it has become its own entity. So at this point we are related essentially in name only, but that's it.
So that's staying there.
Correct.
Okay. I am, so I think this is great. Celebrate the success, et cetera, and the reuse of an existing building. This is you may have heard the conversation about the IDA fees. This is where I think diversion from our policy is not warranted. I think this is, it's a relatively small abatement, but it's a big company. And I think, you know, $17,000 certainly is not going to touch the company or the owner. So I think the abatement is fine. I appreciate, that you're here and we want to support that. But, $17,000, that would be 2 grants to our daycare programs that we've been trying to support. So it's not nothing. It's meaningful on this end. So I know, Heather, you put some information into an email earlier today, and I appreciate it. I just feel that this is, if we're going to deviate from the policy that we have, I think it is warranted to have criteria. And I think that a 35 million or more revenue company doesn't need a $17,000 fee reduction. So when we get to making a motion, Rich, I would amend the motion for this application.
Okay, well, we'll get through that in a little bit. Let's get Todd.
And I'm sorry, one other thing. Heather, when we're all done, I hope we can get emailed an updated application with the various changes that you made. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, Todd.
Hi, Ela. First of all, I think this is great news that you're gonna buy this place and expand. I think that's incredible, especially during these times. I just want to see what is the actual connection between Strategic Elements Development? Is they're just investors in the company?
They're separate entities, so that they're the development company and purchasing that. We will be tenants.
Okay, so they're actually going to own the building then?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no other hands, I guess I'd like to just make a comment. It does seem, Martha, that we should take our policy on fees for small projects back to our committee and bring a proposal to the IDA. But as we sit here today, I'm going to support the project with the current proposed fee. I believe our current economic environment is so critical that we develop whatever we possibly can to get jobs out there and to get the economic development. I'm willing to live with a reduced fee in this instance, but my opinion. Anybody else wishes to talk before we put the resolution on the floor? Martha.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting we divert from our policy. I'm actually suggesting we comply with our policy. So just.
Okay. Yes, you're right. You're right. By the way, Heather, did Jeff get his text? Is Jeff with us?
No, Jeff won't come back until after the vote, would be my understanding.
Oh, right. It was this one he has got. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
But
Okay.
I would like to clarify. Our policy says that the fee is 1% of project costs unless otherwise negotiated, which is the language that was put in the policy when the policy was cleaned up and the fee for small projects through a pilot was changed. So, in the spirit of the policy and the background, I think that, everything that we've done, that the IDA has done, fits within what that policy says.
It certainly seems, though, that we probably want to be more specific. It sounds like that. Okay. Can I get a motion? Somebody? Todd moves. Mike seconds. Okay. Any further discussion? Martha? You're on mute.
I would move an amendment, and I wanted to clarify if he said, usually the fee is 1% of project cost, correct? There's a $1,000 application fee and 1% of project costs. Right, Heather? Okay. So it's also a little confusing as to what's the project. Is it 1.7 million or is it 967,000? The Encodema is paying 900, I think, is paying 967,000 for the renovations. Strategic is paying 1.7 million. So I'm confused.
So the project is the purchase, the renovation of the building and the purchase of additional equipment. So the project costs in total are those borne by both entities, the property owner and the tenant.
Okay. So 1% of project costs is 21,000. It's 21,000 and change.
$21,270.
Okay. Then I would, my motion would be just be that that $1,000 fee and the 21,000 also be maintained or be kept in the deal.
Okay, is there a second?
Okay.
All right, Martha, I think we didn't get a second.
Okay.
Okay, Heather?
Nothing.
Okay. All right, anything further or are we ready to vote? Looks like we are. I will call the boxes in order. Let's see, Martha,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
and Laura.
Yes.
And I note the abstention of Jeff and John, and the chair votes yes. So that passes. All right, so congratulations and good luck with your project. It's great to hear that's happening.
Great, thank you. We look forward to our new facilities.
Please
Okay.
understand, this is not any criticism whatsoever. I just, your success is fantastic and we wish you much more of it.
Thank you, appreciate that.
And thank you guys on behalf of Strategic Elements and on behalf of the city of Ithaca. Strategic Elements will also be redeveloping the Cliff Street site, which is going to be a really interesting mixed use. So we're going to be bringing back, and we'll be doing that with Sean Whitaker. So it's going to be a neat project. We'll be bringing some stuff back to Ithaca as well.
Good.
Okay. All right. Okay, next item of business, and we should, okay. John is back and there's Jeff. Okay, next item of business, Asteri Ithaca, final approval. And Heather, do you want to introduce this topic?
Okay, for those of you that were with us last fall, we reviewed the full application for the Asteri Ithaca project, which I can't seem to pronounce correctly. It's my California accent or something. My apologies, Rick. So you did review the application, sent it on to a public hearing. I know that I had Ina send a link to all those application materials if anyone wanted to refresh. There was a public hearing that was held in November. It was held via Zoom. There was one comment in favor of the project from our friend Teresa Alt. And the project developer is ready to move forward at this point. What we're looking for with the approval today would be an amount up to $45 million in taxable bond debt. The IDA will be the conduit issuer for that bond debt, which will help to support the conference center and the parking, the public parking garage pieces of this project. The conference center will be approximately 55,000 square feet, and there'll be 350 parking spaces that then will be leased back to the city of Ithaca to operate. The other part of the project is 181 units of affordable housing. there are 3 separate pilots for the 3 separate parts of the project, and those were presented in that original application. The property tax incentives do deviate from the IDA's standard incentive with regards to all three portions of the project. The IDA did send letters of deviation to the city, the school district, and the county, notifying them of that. And I just had small changes to the resolution. On page 69 of your application on the resolution, there's a whereas that says that the public hearing was held at the county legislative chambers. It was not. It was actually held live streamed via Zoom. And then on page 69, again, it says that the deviation letters were sent to the town of Ithaca. They were actually sent to the city of Ithaca. So some minor proposed changes there. We have with us today Rick Manzardo as well as Jennifer Tavares from the Chamber of Commerce on this project.
All right, welcome. And Mr. Manzardo, is there anything you'd like to share with the IDA?
I would just like to say thank you for hearing us out for the 3rd time now. We appreciate the time. This process started in 2018 is when we were selected for the RFP. If you can believe that, but we are set to close on the non-residential part in probably about, I'd say 5-6 weeks. So I just thank you for the team and the effort, and we're excited to get this project going.
Okay, great. And Jennifer Tavares, would you like to introduce yourself to the IDA?
Hi, everybody, old friends. I'm really just here because I wanted to be here just in case and to support Rick in the event there's any questions I can help answer. And I really, really miss being at the IDA meeting, and this was my first excuse to attend one. So thanks.
Okay. All right. I see there are questions. Before we get there, can we put the resolution on the floor? Is there somebody that's willing to move it? John will move. Laura seconds. Thank you. Okay. And then John, you're up.
Yeah. So I just, again, I'm excited to have the opportunity to vote on this project. This is a really fantastic win for the community. Really glad to see a bunch of new units of affordable housing right in the center of our downtown, a beautiful new building. The conference center we've all been, working on for many, many years coming together. So thank you for coming to us. I did want to ask Heather a question here. I'm a little bit, so I thought that we always did bonds through the TCDC. I'm curious, can you explain sort of what we're doing here and why that's different than what we've done in the past?
So the TCDC is conduit access to the tax exempt bond market for not-for-profit projects, but the IDA does actually hold the authority to do a taxable bond. I think the last one that we did was for Transonic Systems in 2007.
So that's just a new guy question then. Cool, thank you.
No, John, that's a legitimate question. This is Russ, and just take a step back, and I'll be quick. I got to give credit to Rick and his team and his bankers. We've literally been working around the clock on this one for literally since it was induced. It's very complex. There's a lot of layers to it. So Rick and his team have done a fantastic job. But John, to answer your question, the LDC issues bonds typically anyway for tax exempt financings that the IDA, for some reason, the state decided statutorily that we could not do. So this is kind of one-stop shopping, if you will, for Rick and his team to get the IDA incentives as well as have the conduit issuance of the taxable bonds.
Okay. All right, Martha.
Thank you. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Rick. Great props for patience and courage for building a conference center in the middle of a pandemic. But it'll be over before you're ready to open, I'm pretty sure, I hope. Do I understand, haven't read all the news, is the city voted a local labor agreement, a requirement for all or part of this? If somebody could remind me.
Yeah, so I believe what we put in was basically, instead of looking at each project separately, it's the entirety of the 3 projects. And it's that 30% number for all 3 projects. So with the garage, for instance, we may have a lower number on that, but the residential may have a higher number. So across the board, it's that 30% figure.
I'm sorry, it was 30%? Is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, 30%.
All right. Thank you. No, and I really appreciate the all the affordable housing. I think this is great. It's a terrific project. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Any comments? All right. I guess I'd wrap up by saying, yeah, this is very exciting. This has been such a long time coming. And again, I see these large developments and the work that will go into them is really helping to pull us through the end of our pandemic period, I hope. Todd, I see you have a question. Go ahead.
Rich, I'm just probably gonna abstain from this then, since all this happened before I've been on the board here. So it's been my first meeting, so I don't wanna, I think the right thing for me to do would be abstain from this one.
All right, I don't believe you're required to. You certainly have had the opportunity to read, and I know you and I were trading emails about what you read, so you're allowed to vote, but if you
Okay.
feel comfortable, that's acceptable as well. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, anything further? All right, I will call the roll. Martha,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes,
well, you're abstaining?
I'll vote. Yes.
Okay. John?
Enthusiastically, yes.
Okay, Laura?
Yes, gladly, yes, yes.
And the chair votes yes. So congratulations. This is a really big thing.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you all, and we look forward to a hopefully in person groundbreaking very soon.
Yes. Yeah, that'd be great to see. Okay. And then moving on, next item of business is 2021 appointment of officers and committees. And Heather, I think you sent out a slate or a proposed slate.
I did. I'm just gonna share my screen. Here we go. So everyone can see it there.
Hi, everyone. I'm leaving unless there's anything else interesting on the agenda. I'm sure there's something interesting.
You don't want us to appoint you to a couple of committees?
I better get out of here because I'm still getting committee invitations.
You're gonna get voluntold in a minute.
Actually,
It's
that's
so
what
good to
happens
see
when
you,
leave.
Jennifer.
Jeff, I'm sure you're going to do a fantastic job. Congratulations. Have fun on the IDA. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
So I did send this the other day. We've made one slight change. The Finance and Audit Committee removing Martha Robertson, adding John Guttridge to both the IDA and the Development Corporation, so that there's a balance of every member, I think, having 2 committees that they serve on rather than saddling Martha with 3.
Speaking of being voluntold.
Thank you, John, for serving.
Okay. Any questions, comments on the committees? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the committee appointments? Martha moves, Mike seconds. All right. I will call the roll in order of boxes. Todd?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Martha?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay. So, great. And then next item on the agenda is increasing the number of board members from 7 to 9. Discussion. The Housing and Economic Development Committee of the Tompkins County Legislature has a draft resolution in front of it to change the number. and I would open that up for discussion. We're not voting on it, just try to get some viewpoints in here that can be taken back to that committee. Mike?
I just want to talk, because I brought it up because it had come in front of the legislature. It hadn't come in front of the legislature. It was highly talked about when we were discussing adding the labor person back in December. And Mike Lane was under the impression that we could just add it. And I disagreed with that. And more importantly, Jonathan Wood disagreed with that assessment that you actually needed to get state legislation to add any members. And I just kind of wanted to know what the committee thought of it. I got a good impression of what that one committee, I think, thought of it. A couple of people like Annie thought that it diluted the membership, and that probably wasn't a good idea. So kind of wanted what the IDA thought about it. So I sent it along to Heather as well. And that is where we are today. So.
Looks like nobody has an opinion.
So Mike, let me ask, I'm reading this and they say to better represent the community. So are they feel like they need more representative from different sectors, or what's the thought process there?
Yeah, I think that's really what it is the different sectors part. Some people argue that there should be a representative from education, for example. And for them, it's K through 12. I would make the argument maybe you should have representation from one of the schools, but regardless, yeah, I mean, less elected officials and more people from the different sectors. I mean, you can make the argument that somebody from the healthcare sector would be important, considering that's the fastest growing jobs in the country. It would make some sense. So it was felt that by adding maybe a couple members, you could get that broader base.
Can you remind me, are we required to have, I think we've got, what, 4 legislators on this? Is there a certain number that we're required to have on the ADA?
I only know this because Heather told me. So if Heather wants to tell you, that's fine.
Actually, we only have 3 legislators. That was a big issue we just dealt with. We went from 4 to 3.
Got it. Okay.
Martha?
Heather was going to say something.
Oh.
I was just going to give a little bit of background that, the state legislature created the authorizing resolution, the authorizing legislation that allows for IDAs to be created by local municipal entities. That authorizing legislation does limit the number of IDA members to 7. The authority's budget office at the state does provide guidance on best practices and the kinds of representation that should be on an IDA board, including labor, private business, small business, public education. The ABO actually, as best practice, recommends that you not have a majority of elected officials because they get torn between representing their constituents and representing the IDA sometimes. There are IDAs around the state that do have a majority of elected officials like ours. There are not very many of them. And the majority of IDAs do still have 7 members. There's a small handful that have increased members. One of the IDAs in the Buffalo area has, I think, 19 members. Many of the IDAs around the state not only provide incentives, which an IDA does, but they act as a countywide or as a municipal economic development organization as well. So, different kinds of organizational structures there. Just, a little bit of background there.
Okay. Several people have comments here. Martha?
I'm happy to wait till Todd and John go on.
Okay, I'll come back to you. John?
Yes.
Oh, it's just, so Heather, for clarification, so the statewide legislation that creates IDAs says there shall be 7 members. And then there are certain IDAs that have essentially gotten a specific enabling legislation to change their membership.
Yes.
And we're
this is Russ. I'm frantically looking through my little Bible here. I don't recall exactly what, if any, limitations there are on with respect to this IDA. So as Rich pointed out earlier, I don't think we can make a decision yet until I have a chance to look at whether or not you're even statutorily authorized to increase the numbers. Maybe Heather, you know from past practices, I just don't recall off the top of my head.
I reached out to Bob Ryan, your counterpart at Harris Beach, and he did indicate that there would need to be the state would need to approve any recommendation.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that.
He's the guru on all things IDA legislation.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He's my go-to guy.
Okay. Todd.
Thanks, everyone. First of all, I'm glad to be on this, and I'd like to see it stay at the 7 members myself. I mean, Ann had a lot, pretty passionate about keeping it 7. I respect to her. I think it holds some value what she says about each member actually having a good vote. You know, if we keep it at 7.
Okay. All right, Martha.
Go ahead, John.
Oh,
I already went. I'm sorry, my hand's still up.
Your hand's still, okay. I have mixed feelings. The idea was, I think the idea really was proposed as to go back to 4 legislators and add 1 additional person, maybe from a school district or school board, that would be the 7. I have for a long time, you know, thought that the ABO guidance was silly. I almost think there's more accountability when you have elected officials when you don't have elected officials, and more transparency. So so having 4 out of 7, I think, never bothered me. I guess I've mixed feelings about it. I think we could certainly function with 9. I'm on plenty of committees that have 9 people. We just had a vote where 2 people recused. So like if one of the other people hadn't been, you know, was sick today, then almost 7 can almost be too small of a board. So, but I guess I'm not gonna push it one way or another. I just am interested in the conversation. I will be chair of the committee at the legislature that'll take this up if we take this up in 2021.
Okay. I guess I would just put my opinion on the table that, yeah, I don't have strong feelings on this. Although hearing Heather talk about Buffalo with 19, it's maybe we should go big, you know? Maybe go to 21 so we're a state leader. Anyway, I could live with 7 or 9. I do feel we get a representative view of opinions. We certainly seem to examine the projects in some, you know, degree of thoroughness that we're supposed to try to do, and from different directions. So we could maybe, you know, get more diversity of opinion with 9, but I don't think we're struggling with it right now. I think we do have that. John.
John, are you frozen? I find it interesting that the people who live in who are in the city
Really
have
just to us for
worse
opinion, right? This is
broadband.
not.
Oh, there we go.
Am I back?
You're back. You're back.
My Wi-Fi is not great. I should hire a computer expert to help me fix it. My apologies. I'm curious, is this actually even our decision, or are we really just being asked for our opinions here? Is like the legislature sets who our board is, do they also set the size of our board?
Yeah, we're just being asked for an opinion if
Okay.
we have views.
And I mean, I guess from my perspective, I think that, you know, I certainly understand why we might want to have, you know, good representation from sort of public representatives, which you all are. But I also think that, you know, it would perhaps be helpful to have some more folks who had more direct experience with different parts of the development process. I think that it's great that Todd is here. And, you know, I think that there are a bunch of different pieces to this puzzle. I represent one piece, but like, I think having, also, Jeff's presence is fantastic, right? Gets the finance angle. So I could see us being a bigger board, perhaps without adding any additional legislators, and some real sort of power in having bits and pieces of the puzzle that make a project come together actually be represented on this board for sort of a better understanding of how these projects really come together.
Okay. All right. Well, Martha, you're chairing that committee.
Yeah, I think I got no consensus. I'm not sure. Did we
But
get a-
yeah. Okay.
Laura, Jeff, did you have a sense?
Yeah, I don't have strong views one way or the other. I think we try to get input from various sectors on different projects. There isn't great showing up at public hearings, but nevertheless, I think there are conversations about projects. I guess I don't see a strong argument for moving from 7 to 9 members. But I don't have necessarily interest one way or the other. I think it's fine with 7. Today there were 2 members who had to recuse from a particular vote. That's somewhat unusual, but we've not had a problem with quorum in the past. We've not had any issue taking votes in the past. So I don't see a problem with 7-member board.
Okay. Jeff, yeah, I'm watching the raise hand function. So if you want to use that, I'm also trying to see if people are raising their hands, but go ahead. Go ahead.
I missed where the raise hand function is. I think my only comment there would be, I would be comfortable going to 9 if we really had, if we really stuck to, then the reason why we're going to 9 is expanding because of different sectors that we want. For example, the healthcare sector or the education sector. I wouldn't want us to just go to 9 just because 9 felt like a better number than 7. I would really want us to do that for a very good reason, to expand different sectors that we feel are needed in this type of IDA situation.
Okay. Yeah, so I think no consensus, but we've given Martha stuff to take back to the HED committee. So I think we've done our work such as it is. And
Okay.
I'd like to just keep moving to try to hit our 2-hour mark. Chair's report, I do not have a chair's report other than Heather, it does seem like we're in order for a governance committee meeting to talk about this fee question.
Yes, I've got a little list of things for the governance committee.
Okay, well, I will pass it on directly to staff report, so you can go ahead if you have stuff.
I do not, and I just wanted to clarify that this meeting is 2:30 to 4, so we're over time. My daughter's waiting for me to take her skiing.
Oh, okay. Well, we do have some items in the development corporation, so we should get there. And we have some housekeeping to do, the minutes of December 9th and January 13th. I see a couple questions. Martha?
Thanks, Rich. About that, since the housing policy minutes, housing committee minutes are in the packet, I just want to say I thought, I assume it's Ina who typed it up. I like how she said it. The committee, well, now I can't find which part. The issue about, there we go, that a project with multiple tax parcels should either be considered as a whole and be allowed to pay into the housing fund or provide 20% of affordable units, or each tax parcel be considered individually, et cetera. So I think that's really the crux of the matter that John brought to us earlier. And I would like to, I think I'm not sure if the housing committee is going to meet again. I think maybe we should, but at any rate, I would like to be sure that before any other similar project comes to us that has different parts like we've seen in the past, I would like that to be clear that we're going to have to discuss this and refine our policy before we consider any other new project.
So it does sound like the housing committee should meet and then bring something to us.
Yeah, I've actually been tasked with writing up a policy change to circulate by email to the housing committee. And if everyone's in agreement, then we'll bring it to the full IDA. If there are any questions, then we'll come back and meet again. So I hope to get that out the door soon, so that perhaps by our next meeting, we can have something in hand.
Okay.
And actually on that topic, if you're done, Martha. So one thing that I think is important to make sure makes it into those minutes is that the key element of this policy discussion is that the half of 581A abatement that we have delivered now several times to affordable housing projects actually makes the affordable housing component itself profitable. And that was left out of the minutes from that committee. We did have a somewhat extensive discussion on that, including commentary from Joe Bose that the developers of the project we just approved on the waterfront will make money on their affordable housing component independent of, as an independent project element. And I want to make sure that that gets recorded in the minutes. So if we could ask that that component be included, I think that's the part that gets lost at our conversations here. And it's an important point.
Okay, well, these are informational minutes. So if you want to proceed by email and get those in, we can get more informed minutes that way. But right now, could I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes of December 9th and January 13th?
So I actually have a question about those as well. I just want to make sure that we've clarified. So in the case of the Arnett abatement, I believe that what we did was go back to our standard schedule, but what it says is that we removed the one additional year of 100%. There was the whole schedule following that had shifted based on that. We went back to our standard schedule, correct?
Yeah, there were two schedules in the application. One was the standard energy incentive schedule, and one was with that additional year of 100%. So it will
okay, and so we've
to the other schedule.
Okay. So I mean, if we could just make sure that that's clear that we're using the standard energy schedule rather than just eliminating the 1 year at 100%, because it wasn't clear from that if we were eliminating the 1 year at 100%, but then using the later years that were at higher percentages.
It says
so
there,
if we can make that one.
It says, and only approve the standard incentive for CTAP.
It should be the standard incentive energy and enhanced energy incentive for CTAP.
Yeah, right. It says that, right.
So with that amendment, are we ready to approve the minutes? Could somebody move? John moves, Martha seconds. Okay, I'll call. John?
Yes.
Todd? Todd?
I have to abstain. I wasn't involved with those meetings.
Okay. Yep. Okay, Mike?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Laura?
This is for December and January, correct?
Yes, I was doing them together.
Okay, yes.
Okay. Martha?
Yes, and I really appreciate the clarifications that were added.
All right, and the chair votes yes. So with those votes, the minutes are approved. And if we could get a motion to adjourn. Laura moves, Martha seconds. I'm going to ask for a show of hands on adjourning the IDA meeting so we can open up the Development Corporation. And I would welcome everybody to the Tompkins County Development Corporation meeting for Wednesday, February 10th, 2021. And keeping in mind that there is somebody who really wants to go skiing, we should proceed apace. Were there any privilege of the floor comments we received, Heather or Ina?
No.
Okay. Again, new business, welcoming our incoming director, Todd Brewer. Welcome, and for both committees. And next item of business is the 2021 appointment of officers and committees. And Heather, you presented a slate. Are there changes from that slate? Is that the slate that we're voting on, or were there any changes there?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was a question for the ITA. My mind is clearly on the slopes already. The same change that we made for the IDA, removing Martha from that audit committee and adding John Guttridge.
Okay, and John, do you have a question?
No, I'm sorry, my hand's still up. I was just wondering how many additional meetings I just signed up for.
Okay.
Maybe two.
Do I have a motion and a second on this, on the appointment of officers? Laura moves, Mike seconds. Thank you. Let me call the vote. John?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Martha?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay. TCDC fee structure proposed modification. Heather?
Okay, so as a result of some correspondence with the Office of the State Comptroller, Russ Genzel and I have had some conversations, and he made some recommended changes to the fee policy for the Tompkins County Development Corporation. Really just removing the second paragraph, which we determined was terribly problematic, that the fee structure for a refinance would be 1% of the debt service saved, or $1,000. A lot of times when you do a refinance, it'll be for a longer term. So the savings, it doesn't appear to be savings. So that would have left us with $1,000 fee, which really, in our estimation, does not at all in any way cover the staff time associated with a tax exempt bond placement.
Okay.
So we are recommending this modification to the Development Corporation's fee structure.
Yes. Okay. Could I get a motion to approve that change to the fee structure policy? Laura moves, Mike seconds. Okay. Any questions or comments on this? Make sense? All right, let's call the vote. John?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Martha?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay, great. That passes. I have no chair's report. Is there a staff report, Heather?
No staff report.
Okay. And I have meeting minutes from January 13th, 2021. Could I get a motion to approve those? Martha moves, Jeff seconds. All right, and I'll call the vote on that. Martha?
Yes.
Todd?
Abstain.
Okay, Mike?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. And Martha, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I forgot to ask Heather about the childcare grants. Are you in touch with Sue Dale Hall in case she has other applicants who would be interested?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so I'm ready anyway to entertain more applicants. Thank you.
Yeah. Now the child care grants, I was so happy we were able to do that. It really, I think, made a critical difference to these small businesses in the community. Any other business to come before the Development Corporation? Seeing none, I'd have a motion to adjourn. Martha moves, Mike seconds, show of hands. All right, looks like that's unanimous. Thank you, everybody. And we will see everybody in a month, if not before.